Welcome, welcome. We've got another Knowing You show. I'm Tiffany Cano, the CEO of Highly Perceptive People Academy, a blind spot healer and clairvoyant. And I love interviewing people in my empathic community that are offering amazing gifts and talents and services, whether it's paid or volunteer work, and they are sharing their love and their gifts with you today. And my guest is Joanfrances Boyle, and she does a lot with past lives. So welcome.
Thank you, Tiffany.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and what does past life surrogacy mean?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, and welcome to everybody who watches live and the after show as well. Past life surrogacy is one of the gifts that I have, and of course it's basically, it speaks for itself. Surrogacy means that I connect to somebody else's energy. As I connect to their energy, I take 3 breaths and I'm there. I'm in their past life. My energy has been connected that I go to the specific past life that is causing them problems in this life. So I go directly to the source, and it's where I relive their past life for them. So I see as though I am looking through their eyes. I connect feelings, thoughts, actions, everything about their past life. And yes, if they were kissed in the cheek, I will feel the passion of the kiss in the cheek. If they were punched in the cheek, I will also feel the pain of that punch, I should say. But of course, it's not lasting for me. It doesn't harm me in any shape or form. But what it does do is it goes directly to the information, because in their past life or lives, because it could be more than one life, it has been consecutive of the trauma that is there. And what it really does is it allows me to see, hear, smell, touch, taste, and bring that information forward, and what we call is bearing witness to what the truth of actually what went on. And of course, what it also does.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say, like, when in terms of past lives, why someone would be curious about diving into that, at least in my healing practice, and then I'd love to hear from yours, is not necessarily to fulfill a curiosity, which sometimes, there's that as well. But to me, the important part when I do past life clearing is that it's to help heal them in this life. There's some sort of bleed over, some energy, some person or some trauma or some event that energetically is still affecting them today, affecting their moods, affecting their health, affecting their finances, affecting their relationships. Now, would you say that is, a driving force for you also?
Oh, definitely, 100%. The part for me as we dive into the past is to actually reveal the setbacks in this life. I call it past life syndrome. The syndrome of the past is the trigger that creates and draws events to the person. The events to the person in this aspect of life can be exactly that: their health, their mood, their emotions. It can hold a person back. It gives them fear, phobias, all of these things. But the thing for me with past life surrogacy is that as I go into the past life and reveal the information of the past life, astonishingly, it actually mimics into this life. So, like, say, if the person had some of the things that I have revealed in the past is where, if the person had been captured Sold as a Slave, which is one of the ones that's on my website, free for everybody to look at. Sold as a Slave, and unfortunately that person had been sexually abused, raped really in the past as well, and that mimicked into this life. That lady in this life had experienced this at the same age, the same children that she had, the same information that was there, really right down to the only thing that was different was the not the sex, obviously, of the person who had raped her, but the colour tone of their skin was completely different. So that was the only thing that was different. Everything else was the same. It happened as well as a captain, and she was the person in this side of life, but it was the captain in the past life of who was in charge of the boat that sold her as a slave had actually done the deed in the past. So the mimicking is incredible, but the healing is awesome. The revealing of that story, you know.
Yeah. So in a moment, I want to see what it is that attracted you to this work that you're doing now. For me, when I was a teenager, like junior high and high school, I would have these dreams, like traumatic dreams. And I know that they were memories from a past life. And so that's when I started doing past life regression work to discover what was there. And then it just kind of opened up a slew of multiple, peeks into past lives, and gave me a chance to then start healing what was bleeding over into this life and affecting me in a negative way. What actually got you started on your path?
On past lives as a whole, you know, looking at it as a whole, because I'm a clinical hypnotherapist as well of 60 aspects of hypnosis. But as a child, I actually saw people's faces change. So as a young child, I'd be looking at them and their face would change. And in my book, I demonstrate this as facial recognition. So their faces would change and I would know that this was another life for them. Then as I got into my late teens, I started seeing like a vision, you know, of their past life, and then it would slow down, like as if it was running Zoom, and then slow down at certain points. And I would be able to describe it. I didn't feel it, I didn't experience it, but I would describe it, what was happening. But then like 27 years ago, one morning in the shower, I was told, I was told that watch, look and learn, because this is what you were going to be doing. And I was given the whole process of past life surrogacy. And I've been doing it ever since that way. It's fully experiential for me, which means it's fully experiential for the clients as well. But the forgiveness and the honor and the truth that comes forward is such a healing. And you'll know that yourself by doing past life work yourself, Tiffany, that it's the stories are important that comes forward, because that's what gives us the information of the past to the present. But the healing for the person is just, it's sometimes unexplainable, because it frees the person in this life to move forward without having restrictions, without having the mental torture, you know, that can sometimes go on. And also it's that moment as well of, you know, seeing someone just be free.
Yes.
And that's such a powerful moment, I think, for us as the therapist, you know, and the client, and they go away so happy, you know. That I have the one thing that intrigues me, and you'll probably understand this as well, is that, you know, these stories that come forward can be explicit, very bold, very clear, very detailed, you know, in information, and very traumatic of the reveal. You know, traumatic not being traumatic for the person as it's being revealed, but the information can be traumatic because it's so powerful. But yeah, I have never had a client that turns around and says, that was horrific. They're more in the basis of, this is why I do this. This is why, this has happened to me in my life. Now I understand, the processes. And I always think, it's
Yeah.
not about, oh, that was so dramatic to hear that. They go on the basis of, this is why. The why. And I always say this tiny little word, why this is happening to me, why I have had this, in a sense, disability, or why I've carried this emotional pain, or this fear of success, or fear of romance, or fear of being a leader, fear of being me, in this world.
Yeah, I used to have fears so I've been getting paid for healing since I was 8, but even as a teenager and early childhood and early adulthood, I would have these fears of being persecuted, being burned at the stake, being, tortured for having these gifts. And I knew intuitively it was connected to past life wounds that I hadn't yet healed. And then as I, dug into it a bit, cleared it out, then all of a sudden I felt safer to be me, safer to be more public with the type of work that I do, being safe to be woo-woo, being safe to be outwardly expressive of, yes, I'm a clairvoyant. Yes, I've done the energy healing, but I couldn't do that until I was willing to face and heal those past lives. And so in that regards, it can be very powerful. And I just wanted to share that. And also I wanted to ask you, when you do your work with people, do you do it in person? Do you do it distant? Where in the world are you? Because I think you're in Europe. So talk to me about that part.
Okay. Well, yes, I am in the United Kingdom, Scotland at the moment. I was living in the USA as well, but been back here since the pandemic broke loose, and been here ever since. So yes, I'm here in Scotland. I do my work in person as well as online. I've actually been working online through Zoom for over 6 years now. I was told then intuitively to start shifting a lot of my work on Zoom, because that was going to become very important within the next few years. And of course, what happened was the pandemic broke, and of course everybody moved on to Zoom. And I was like, yes, because people would say, oh, you're so versed in it, and I was thinking, well, that's only because I followed the action that I was told. So,
Yes.
but I do past life surrogacy, because we're talking about past life surrogacy at the moment, is I do it in person, I do it through Zoom, and I also do group sessions. My energy has spinned out, into being able to, in a sense, do full demonstrations with people from the audiences coming forward, having their past life revealed, sitting next to me. I also do full Zoom demonstration sessions where people can come in and we just choose from the audience. There's no set rule of who's going to get done. I don't believe in that, never have. I always believe that the gift is a gift, and who's to receive it will receive it in that moment. So it's kind of like a little lottery, and it's not me that picks it. Even when I do full demonstrations, people will come in and they put their names and details into a box. The box is on stage in front of everybody. I don't touch the box. I don't go anywhere near the box. And it's a member of the audience that's picked at random from another member of the audience who then, and I do everything so that people just understand that it's not somebody who's been picked, for in other
Yeah.
words, being chosen,
Mhm.
and I just work away doing that. So yeah, it's great stuff.
And
Yeah.
and I know that it takes you some time to like get into that space and offer that. Normally, we would do something experiential on this show, but given that it's less than a half an hour, there's really not time for that. However, for you guys, if
Mhm.
you wanted to receive a free healing from her or free reading, you can email her. Do you want to share your email and I'll
Sure. Yes, it's info at joanfrances.com.
Okay. So, do you want them to say anything like free gift
They
from
just
knowing?
put in the subject line. So if they tag in the subject line, let's just call it a prize draw, and we will choose, someone, or you can choose someone, from that listing, and they can have a free session of past life surrogacy instead of having a psychic reading, or they can choose to have a psychic reading. It would be entirely up to them. I know what I would be choosing.
Here, I just put the link for you guys on the screen. So if you email her at info@joanfrances and put the subject line prize draw and, let them know that you're reaching out to them from the Knowing You show, then she can, help you.
No. And if they
So,
want to ask a question, they can put it in the email. If they
okay,
want to ask a question as well, I'm quite
wonderful.
happy to answer.
Great. And what do you think is one of the most interesting past life readings you've done?
Gosh, I love all of them because I think all of them are so unique, because every single person is individual and their stories are unique to everything. But one of them that I did actually takes me right back to the very beginning of past life surrogacy.
Mhm.
And I think because you have to trust, for me, I have to trust, I take those 3 breaths and I'm there. So I have to trust that I'm going to be there, if that makes sense. And I always remember the very first time, and I remember thinking, am I really going to do this? I've never tested it on anybody. So this is it. And I always remember the very first words that came out my mouth, which really shocked me for a moment. And they were, your father is not your biological father, but is your
Mm.
mother from your previous life.
Interesting.
And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, did I just say that? Did that just come out my mouth? So for me, and it turned out that that was actually true. That
Mhm.
the biological father was not her biological father in this life, but had actually came into her life when she was 2 years old,
Mhm.
and had then built this relationship together. And people, when they found out that he wasn't her biological father, they couldn't believe it because they were so connected, in this life. And the thing for me was that in the past life, as it turned out, as her mother, dying in very horrific circumstances, she had said to her daughter, who she was still a daughter again in this life, no matter where you are, I will find you.
Mm.
I will find you, was her dying moment. And that is exactly what she said, was, so for me, although it doesn't sound over strange, but for me, it was one of the most powerful moments, I think, for me to understand how deep, and of course, I could go on about that particular past life, which was absolutely the mimicking from that life to this life, where her shoulders had been disfigured through birth in this life, was because she had had her arms dislocated. And in the past life, she told her mother to put her arms around her neck, and she lifted her bodily off the ground. So in this life, she came in with this horrific, because in the past life, she had took on board what I term as misplaced karma. And she had taken on board that it was all her fault because she couldn't run fast enough to escape from the soldiers that were chasing them. And she took on board the blame for her mother's death and her death. But it wasn't. It was circumstances of where they were and what happened at that particular period of time. So, and her mother in the past life had, because they tried to escape, had her knees smashed with a hammer. And that sounds quite horrific. But in this life, her father, the same week that this girl, on the very first day that I had to do this work, her father had been in hospital for the week, having his legs amputated from the knee down, of having a mystery condition in this life. No consultant could understand it.
And how do you go about facilitating the healing, the clearing part after you see that there's a connection?
Oh, good question, because that's called, that's called what we term as the restoration. And I am taken back into the past life. I'm taken back to the point of their death. And as we go into the afterlife, so into the power of the book of life, it is actually, the truth is revealed. And then the truth is actually set into the book of life, which resets the power of their karma in this life. It's so powerful, and people can feel it. They feel it in their body, they feel it in their emotions. Some people even say, oh my God, I feel as though I am ginormous. And you know, that they say, I feel as if I have all this space now, because they're not harboring all that negativity, or not holding on to their old information that wasn't really theirs to hold on to in the first place. And this is why I call it misplaced karma. So the restoration side of it is beautiful. It's done so easily, and it's always this beauty. And a lot of people get to meet themselves at that moment. They see themselves and they can hug their own space, and people talk about them feeling that part of them enter into their heart chakra, and it's just beautiful for them. It's just lovely.
Okay, so speaking of heart chakras, there have been times where I have in this life and I immediately knew that they were a past family member or a past lover or an enemy, like instant, I can't stand you kind of energy, or instant, oh my God, I just want you to make love to me like now. Like there are times when I've had that soul to soul recognition. And oftentimes just in the recognition of it, something like it just kind of neutralizes, like when we've had that moment of reconnection and then could just be with that, then somehow things softened and I didn't have that overwhelming urge to have to spend the rest of my life with them, because I just I acknowledged, oh yeah, I want you so much because we were deeply in love or deeply and passionate towards each other, in some other life, and now we're meeting again. So what do you think about, experiences like that?
I think the power of the connection, I love it, the way you say you want to passionately love them. But yeah, it's that moment, and it is, and people have these moments every day. You know, people will say, oh, I feel as if I know you. I feel as if we've connected before, or I've known you for a whole lifetime. Or yes, some people will take an instant dislike, to someone like what you've just said, and they think, I don't like that person, but they can't say why. And that's, to me, is there's that why. And this is the moment where you should either connect into the past life, make that connection with the person, and connect to their energy and understand what has been that interaction of the past, so that in this life form you can free yourself of either a karmic debt, or B, a long lost lust, for to be with
I
someone.
spent so much time forgiving people
Yeah,
that I knew before. I feel like I've spent a few, like if I were to add it all up, it'd be like at least a few years. I'm just like, oh, I recognize you again. Oh, and I forgive you for that. And I forgive you for the time that you tortured me. And please forgive me for when I hit you, with the bat. Like, I'm so sorry.
exactly.
Right? There's just so many opportunities for forgiveness work when it comes to
And
life in general, but especially when we reconnect with people from the past.
exactly. And one thing that I would like to add to that is that forgiveness in this life form is probably one of the hardest things for people to do consciously, consciously from their mind. But yet, in a session, we can free ourselves so easily to move forward and never really look back, and never really have that moment of saying, oh, I wish I'd done that. And I wish I had said yes at that moment in time. Or I wish I had taken a different pathway, just to free yourself up, to allow yourself to move forward and not have to go back, and not waste energy having to keep forgiving,
Well,
I forgive you,
I am certain that some family members I've circled around again and
Oh, yeah.
I think one of the biggest things about reconnecting with people from past lives is definitely to learn how to love and accept them
Mhm,
as
mhm.
they are, and to offer forgiveness and ask for forgiveness as needed. I think that a lot of families are oftentimes have had some sort of past life connection with
Oh,
people.
definitely. Yeah.
And at least within my own family, a lot of that has been about learning how to love and forgive
Mhm,
and neutralize whatever old karma may have been there.
mhm. I
Yeah.
think a lot of self-love as well, because people
Yeah.
have in a sense died thinking that they were weak or feeble in some way, that or not good enough, or they made the wrong decision, or that they were responsible for other people's
Mhm.
deaths, not just their own but other people's deaths. And I think the self-love and self-understanding that when the truth is truly revealed, that they were not that person. And I
Yeah.
think then they can truly accept themselves, as I tend to say, in all shapes and forms,
Mhm.
how they look, how they speak, how they think, how they act, and just accept.
Mhm.
And to me, that's freedom to move forward. It's just,
Mhm. I've had to forgive myself so much, especially when I was I would say teenage years and early 20s, when I would have these memories of being like a warrior or a barbarian, or a conqueror, because that is our past, right, for many people. And like the peace and love and non-injury ahimsa that I am now was like, whoa, that was awful. And it took some time to like forgive myself when I discovered these things. So what you said about having that self-love and self-acceptance, I think is really important as we go on this journey, for
Mm,
sure.
mm.
So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And thank
And
you.
you're welcome. And I would love to keep talking, but I know that our show is over. And
Mhm,
for anybody who wants to connect,
mhm,
go to this email right here, info@joanfrances.com, and she will work with you some more, and you can ask her questions and get in, for a free session, get in the drawing for that, and enjoy it, play with it, and keep that lightness, that self-love,
mhm,
self-compassion, because we all have a past, and
mhm,
our past is marred with horrible things and positive things. And we're
mhm,
still working out the karma
mhm,
for that. And the good things that we have in this life is probably because of the virtues and, positivity that we've done in our past to give us what is good now. But all the same with some of our challenges, health challenges, romance challenges, money challenges, is also due to our karma from our past that we're still working out now. So let's
mhm,
just remember to love and accept one
mhm,
another, and especially ourselves.
mhm. Definitely.
You're
Thank you
welcome, Wendy.
so
You're
much
you're
for
welcome.
having me on here. Fantastic.
My pleasure. So once again, that email is info@joanfrances.com. And you can connect with her beyond today, and go ahead and write in the chat, and connect with her on Facebook, and we will
Mhm.
continue to play and grow and explore.
I love it.
All right. Much
Okay,
love and blessings.
much love.
Bye-bye.